Part 40. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 397. Chapter 389 The Most Poisonous Woman's Heart. Spare your life, sir, spare your life. The little one knows that he was wrong. Please forgive us, the adults. The little one will never dare to do it again. Mr. Chen and other people in the inn kowtowed and begged for mercy. Sun 12 Niang's face turned pale, but she did not beg for mercy. It's not that she doesn't want to live, it's that she put forward so many conditions before, and the other party is unwilling to let her go. Even if she begs for mercy now, the other party will not change his mind. Sun 12 Niang glared at Ling Chu with resentment. Girl, we have no enmity, why do we have to kill them all? And son, you have done so many unconscionable things and killed so many innocent people. Anyone who still has a little conscience will expose your crime if they encounter this kind of thing. But you don't even know those people and they are all dead, so why are you meddling in their own business? This Sun 12th mother must have a brain problem. She even asked shopkeeper Chen to attack their group. Why does she think they will let her go? What's more, she is a disciple of Master Xian Yi. Naturally, she cannot turn a blind eye when encountering such a thing. These are just these words, there is no need to explain them to Sun 12 Niang. The Emperor has given an order that these people in the inn will die soon. When Sun 12 Niang dies and sees those ghosts, she will naturally know the answer. Seeing those forbidden soldiers pulling out their swords, Sun 12 Niang could no longer remain calm. You can't kill us. Even if we are guilty, we should be judged by the Quyang County Magistrate. As long as these people hand them over to the Quyang County Magistrate, Sun 12 Niang is confident that she can escape this disaster. The County Magistrate Yan Wu was not only greedy for money, but also lustful. As long as she gives Yan Wu a sum of money and sleeps with him a few times, he will never convict her. Sun 12 Niang opened an inn here and did so many things secretly. Naturally, she had already found out who the county magistrate was, so she felt confident. Sun 12 Niang thought very well, but it's a pity that she still doesn't know who these people are today. I didn't even know that the person who gave the order was the emperor. Let's do it. This Sun 12 Niang and her subordinates were seeking wealth and death, and they also sold human flesh into dishes to guests. The method is so cruel and vicious. The emperor has already convicted the person, how could he still hand him over to the Yangkou County magistrate for trial? The emperor had no intention of eating any more and turned back to his room. When he turned around, he saw the people who were later called in by Sun 12 Niang. His eyes paused and then quickly looked away. No matter what status those people have, since they are with the people in this inn and want to attack them, there is no need to keep these people. The emperor did not forget Ning Chui's 100 cases when he left Beijing. Leave the remaining matters to him before leaving. The imperial guards raised their swords, but were stopped by Ning Chui. Drag the people outside before you do anything. Don't dirty this place. Her body is already weak, so she has been running around for a few days, and she has to go on the road next. If these people died here, the smell of blood would be too strong, and they might not be able to sleep well at night. The imperial guards did not know what Ning Chui was thinking, they only thought he was doing it for the emperor. This is the lobby. The emperor has to go in and out, so he really can't do anything here. Lest the smell be too strong and hit the emperor. The imperial guards ignored the pleas of Sun 12 Niang and others, and dragged the people outside, found a remote place, and raised their swords. Leave no one alive, kill them all. The emperor went back to his room to rest, but Ling Chu did not leave. She waited until the imperial guards finished taking action before she walked over. Shopkeeper Chen and the waiters stood beside the corpse and cried bitterly after their death. They did not expect that they were executed like this without being interrogated by the county magistrate. Sun 12 Niang was also unwilling. When she saw Ling Chu coming over, she glared at her with hatred on her face. Just when I was thinking about how to settle the score with her, I didn't expect that many ghosts suddenly appeared from all around. These souls, without exception, all died in Beifangu Inn. Now that Sun 12 Niang is dead, they all come to her to settle accounts. Dong Sun, please give me back my life. Ha ha ha, God is wise, you killed me, I didn't expect you to be here today. Seeing those people with missing arms and legs surrounding them, Sun 12 mother was frightened. She didn't expect that there really were ghosts in this world. She turned around and wanted to escape, but she couldn't find a chance at all. After some ghosts died, their flesh was cut into pieces, which looked horrible and disgusting. Although Sun 12 sought wealth and killed himself, she had never seen these people after they died. They are all the hands that give orders to the master in charge of the ladle. She was so frightened when she saw such a terrifying ghost at first sight. When she was panicking, she saw several familiar faces, and she subconsciously ran towards them. And instinctively showed a charming look, wanting these people to save her. But Sun 12 Niang forgot at this moment that all these men were killed by her. She is indeed the most poisonous woman, and she still wants to use this trick to deceive us. Do you think we will still be fooled? You are as beautiful as a flower, but you have a heart of a snake and a scorpion. Mr. Sun, you have such a vicious heart. These good-looking men were all attracted by Sun 12 Niang's appearance when they came to the inn. Charmed by her beauty and sweet words, he stayed and had fun with her. When they get tired of waiting, they poison the other party to death, leaving only their money. Humph, you said you fell in love with me at first sight. You obviously fell in love with my family wealth. I was really blind to fall for this poisonous woman like you. The man who said this looks ugly, but he is Ruan Fang, the real owner of Beifangu Inn. Sun 12 Niang was once married when she was young. But after getting married, she had more needs in that area, so her husband, who disliked her, could not satisfy her. At first, she just endured it. But later, he started having an affair with someone else. As time went on, her husband gradually became aware of it. During an arrest for adultery, Sun 12 Niang's husband was accidentally killed by the adulterer. Seeing her husband being killed, Sun 12 mother was afraid of being raped in a pig cage by her tribe, so she took the family's belongings and fled with her adulterer. At first, the two of them lived anonymously and lived a contented life with Sun 12's husband's money. It's a pity that the good times didn't last long. I don't know if the adulterer saw that the money was about to be squandered, or he was tired of Sun 12 Niang's body. He even secretly left her behind while she was not at home, took the remaining money and flew away. Sun 12 mother was naturally angry and resentful, but she couldn't find anyone and could do nothing. Without money and no income, Sun 12 could only find ways to make a living. Hearing that Beifangu Inn was looking for a cook, she thought of trying her luck. So he lied to the original owner of the inn that he was an orphan and came to look for relatives. He couldn't find anyone and had to fend for himself. Seeing that she was beautiful and crying pitifully, Ruan Fang inevitably felt pity for her, so he nodded and left her. But he didn't expect that by staying here, he would lose his life. Thanks to Yuk 333 for supporting the monthly ticket. Thank you for the sunshine, Ludan. EC, XXC, Squinting Smile, Eden of the East, Colorful Life, 641,417, 1402121840214228, Xianbin, Shangsuanyu, Prose. BA, Prose. BA, Goat Song and the Story of the Eyes, Yunyun Zongshen, 201703181914308335, Sen, China Fuse, Shangyuan, Kishuang Aoxu. Hope that dreams come true, Penyong Fang, Yuk 333, 202301052008363119, V. At this moment, laugh with you, CHLWCH, lazy lazy, squinting and smiling, 1311192132222849, free as the wind 459, a curtain of dreams. BC, stars and sky, if you become thinner or thinner, you have to stay at home, neither, Fankishan, 2023-101-0851. Ed. 641,417, why? Growing Old and other book friends recommendation votes support it. Thanks to Hungzio and Xiaoxiang for supporting book friends. End of this chapter. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 398. Chapter 390 Seeking Wealth and Killing People. Ruan Fang kept Sun 12 Niang as the cook, even though her cooking skills were passable. But it didn't take long for her to feel that the smoky days were too hard. Moreover, she felt that it was a pity that she was so beautiful and had to stay in the kitchen all day long. More importantly, she felt that she could not make much money as a cook. Sun 12 Niang is used to enjoying herself, and she is not willing to live in such poverty. She wants to change, but she no longer wants to rely on men. The affair with the adulterer made her feel that men were unreliable. She wants to make money, and only when she has the money in her own hands can she rest assured. It's just that Sun 12 Niang doesn't know anything about making money. After thinking about it, she feels that Beifangyu Inn is good. If she had such a big inn, she would not have to worry about having no place to live in the future. Moreover, you can also make money from the inn. The more Sun 12 Niang thought about it, the more she thought it was a good idea. So he set his sights on Ruan Fang. The owner of Beifangyu Inn is a lonely person. It would be great if the inn becomes hers. With these thoughts, Sun 12 Niang felt that she could no longer endure the smoky days. So he always praised Ruan Fang, intentionally or unintentionally, for his diligence and progress, keeping the inn in order, and for his compassion for the poor and the weak. Ruan Fang secretly liked Sun 12 Niang, and he was even more happy to be praised by her every day. He was happy, and Sun 12 Niang was even more proud. She has known since she was a child that she is beautiful, and no man would dislike her if he saw her. This Ruan Fang is no exception. In addition to praising, Sun 12 Niang often used teasing and other charming methods towards Ruan Fang. That Ruan Fang is not very handsome, and no girl has ever liked him. When he was over 30 years old, no woman was willing to marry him. Meeting Sun 12 Niang, a girl who admires him and is extremely beautiful, there is no way he can resist her various methods. Not long after, he decided to marry her. Ruan Fang's decision was known to the innkeeper and waiters. Everyone envies Ruan Fang for his good luck in getting married to such a beautiful woman as Sun 12. Ruan Fang was so happy that he couldn't smile from ear to ear. He prepared a lot of betrothal gifts, found a matchmaker, and prepared 3 letters and 6 rites to ask Sun 12 Niang to marry him. But he didn't know that Sun 12 Niang just fell in love with his inn, but she thought he was ugly, so she was not willing to marry him. So he found an opportunity, got Ruan Fang drunk, and had a good time with him, but afterwards he gave him a glass of poisoned wine. Unconscious Ruan Fang drank the wine and died on the spot. Afterwards, Sun 12 Niang lied and claimed that Ruan Fang died suddenly because of a sudden illness. Even though the people at the inn thought it was a little strange, they didn't ask much after seeing Sun 12 Niang crying so hard that her heart broke. Soon, Sun 12's mother found someone and buried Ruan Fang hastily. Later, as Ruan Fang's deceased wife, she naturally took over Beifangyu. The guys didn't have any objections to this. After all, they all knew that there was no one in Ruan Fang's family for a long time. Although he has not officially married Sun 12 Niang, he has prepared 3 letters and 6 etiquette. It is correct to say that she is Ruan Fang's wife. However, when Sun 12 Niang took over the inn, shopkeeper Chen was not willing to accept it, and soon got the idea to take the inn as his own. Sun 12 Niang noticed his intention and was not willing to give up the inn that Cai Mao had captured. But she was also afraid that she would not be able to keep the inn as a woman. So he repeated his old trick and used his own body to seduce shopkeeper Chen. Already coveted Sun 12 Niang's beauty, shopkeeper Chen quickly took the bait. The two of them made fire and slept together. Afterwards, Sun 12 Niang proposed that as long as shopkeeper Chen did not rob the inn, she could sleep with him at any time and share half of the money she earned with him. Shopkeeper Chen coveted Sun 12 Niang's beauty and body, so he agreed without much hesitation. Since then, the two have managed the inn together. Sun 12 Niang wants to make a lot of money from the inn, but due to the poor location, not many people come to stay at the inn. Furthermore, her needs were too great, and she felt that shopkeeper Chen could not meet her needs. So 12th Mother Sun had a wrong idea. When she sees a good-looking man coming to the inn, she uses drugs and her own beauty to keep him here. Be happy with the other person again. When you get tired of waiting, let the other person keep the money and then let him go. If the man is unwilling, he will poison the other person to death with medicine. Shopkeeper Chen had a taste of money, and not only did he not stop him, but he also colluded with Sun 12 Niang. Whenever you see a guest coming to stay at Daejian's hotel, you must use medicine to knock him out, and then take away all the money the guest brings. If someone resists or threatens to report him to the official, he will be killed. Let the chef cook the dishes and sell them to the next group of customers to make money. In this way, Sun 12 Niang and shopkeeper Chen joined forces to seek wealth and death. I don't know if they were lucky or if the guests were unlucky. They have succeeded many times over the years. Ruan Fang thought about being poisoned by Sun 12 Niang, and watched her occupy his inn, collude with shopkeeper Chen, seek wealth and murder, and even have with many men. He became angry and resentful. He rushed forward and strangled Sun 12 Niang to death. The ghosts of those who had been killed also gathered around. Ling Chu did not take action to save Sun 12 Niang. Those ghosts died unjustly, so they must be allowed to breathe. Otherwise, their resentment will accumulate and become too difficult to deal with. After Sun 12 Niang's soul was tortured to the point of dying, Ling Chu took her away. Those ghosts knew that it was Ling Chu who exposed the crimes of Sun 12 Niang and others, so they were killed. Those ghosts were very grateful to Ling Chu. In order to earn merit, Ling Chu agreed to bury their bodies. He also asked for their names and home addresses, and then sent the money found back to their homes. Those ghosts were even more grateful. Ling Chu earned a lot of merit and made his health better. My mood has improved a lot. Ning Chui had been silently accompanying her, leading the imperial army to dig a hole and bury all the corpses. Ling Chu also performed a simple ritual to liberate those ghosts. By the time I finish everything, it's not far from dawn. Knowing that the emperor was still on his way, the imperial troops did not dare to sleep. Arranged people to be on duty, and went to the kitchen to find some clean ingredients to prepare tomorrow's meals and dry food for the journey. Ling Chu was exhausted after finishing everything. She just wanted to lie on the big bed and sleep for a few days and nights, but thinking about having to go on the road after dawn, she could only sigh. I was about to take the time to go back to the room to wash up and sleep for a while. Ning Chui came over and said softly, I ask someone to prepare hot water in your room and cook a bowl of noodles. You go back and wash up. Remember to eat the noodles before going to bed. Ling Chu didn't expect Ning Chui to be so considerate and considerate. She was tired and hungry, so she happily agreed, thank you, sir. After thanking her, Ling Chu was about to go back to the room, but saw that Ning Chui was hesitant to speak, as if he had something to say to her but didn't know how to say it. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 399. Seeing Ning Chui's expression, Ling Chu couldn't help but be curious. Sir, do you have something to give me? The Imperial Guards helped bury the body and left, but did not stay to watch Ling Chu perform his duties. At this moment, apart from Ning Chui and Ling Chu, only Wei Feng and Yin Sha are still standing guard in the distance. Ning Chui looked at Ling Chu with clear eyes full of curiosity, and the scene he saw after kicking the door suddenly appeared in his mind. Although it was just a glimpse, it lingered in his mind. Sir, Ling Chu was even more surprised when he saw that he looked at him but did not speak. This is really not like his usual behavior, and I don't know if he encountered something difficult. Ning Chui had no expression on his face, but he was not at peace inside. He felt that he had a lot to say, but facing her bright gaze, he didn't know where to start. Ning Chui felt uneasy like never before. Although Ling Chu felt extremely tired, her curiosity at the moment overcame her fatigue. Just seeing him in such a difficult situation, it was hard for her to ask any more questions. If you have any inconvenience, sir, you can ask Wei Feng or Yin Sha to convey it to you. I will definitely try my best to help. Ning Chui did not respond to her words. This kind of thing cannot be done by outsiders. Puckering her lips, Ning Chui finally spoke. I was reckless when I kicked in the door earlier. But don't worry, princess, I will be responsible. Ling Chu was surprised and subconsciously blurted out, you are not responsible. As soon as the words came out of her mouth, she suddenly felt a sudden chill in the air. Ning Chui's hands behind her back were clenched tightly. After being silent for a while, he pursed his lips and said, are you, a person who wants to please you? Ling Chu looked at him in surprise. Could it be that he thought that what she just said was because she had someone in her heart, so she didn't want him to be responsible? Ling Chu shook his head, no. Ning Chui felt relieved. It was then that I realized that I had held my breath just now. After I return to Beijing, I will ask a matchmaker to come to my door. Seeing her eyes suddenly widen, Ning Chui's heart slowly sank, and he suddenly didn't know how to say the rest. At this moment, Ling Chu was surprised and a little embarrassed. She didn't expect that Ning Chui was looking for her to kick in the door, and she didn't expect that he was going to find a matchmaker to propose marriage after returning to Beijing. No need to be embarrassed, sir, this was just an accident. I know you just heard my cry and thought I was in danger, so you kicked in the door and tried to save me. Don't take this matter to heart, I am not an ignorant person. You were just trying to save me, not intentionally. Ning Chui's eyes dimmed slightly, you are unwilling. Ling Chu felt a little uneasy. She would have to work in Jinyue in the future, and she really didn't want to cause any unpleasant things between them because of this incident. She shook her head. Ning Chui pursed her thin lips tightly. Noticing that his expression was not good, Ling Chu suddenly felt a little upset. Sir, you know that I grew up in Suankigwan since I was a child. Whether it is what I learned or other aspects, I am very different from the ladies in the capital. Not wanting Lord Ning to misunderstand, Ling Chu carefully considered his words and spoke a little slowly. After returning to Beijing, I learned that Mr. Dong had arranged a marriage for me, and the reason why I insisted on breaking off the engagement with the Duke of Zhao was. Firstly, I know that Mr. Zhao is not a good match, and secondly, my body is not suitable for marriage. Ling Chu suddenly felt a little regretful. Ning Chui is young and promising, and her appearance is exactly the type she likes. It can be said that he is the most outstanding man she has met so far. Had it not been for her poor health, she might not have refused. But unfortunately, her body does not allow her to talk about marriage. Even though she seems to have no big problem now, one day she may lie down and never be able to open her eyes again. Master Ning kicked down the door just to save her. She didn't want him to have to marry her because of an accident. The light in Ning Chui's eyes lit up little by little. Are you worried that your body can't bear it? When this incident comes back to Beijing, let the prince ask the imperial doctor from Sun Yuanzhengtai Hospital to give you a careful diagnosis. Prescribe some medicine to treat it. If the imperial doctor can't do anything, there are many doctors with superb medical skills among the people. I will ask people to inquire carefully and then invite them to Beijing. It's just a physical problem, and he believes there is always a way to take care of it. Ling Chu saw that his expression was focused and serious, and he suddenly didn't know how to express what was in his heart. How could she tell him that her body could not be cured by doctors and doctors alone? Ling Chu just wanted to say that she did not plan to get married in this life. But before he could say anything, he suddenly saw Commander Pang hurriedly walking this way. When he got closer, Pang Xiao immediately said, "Master Ning, the emperor is not feeling well and his forehead is a little hot." Sun Yuanzheng was infected with wind and cold and developed a high fever, so he was unable to diagnose and treat the emperor. Could you please ask a few doctors to come back? The emperor's fever is not a trivial matter, and there are no other imperial doctors around. If something goes wrong, no one can bear the consequences. Ling Chu swallowed his words and said to Ning Chui, "Sir, please go and ask for the doctor first." Ning Chui glanced at her and nodded. The three of them turned around and returned to the inn. But he saw the emperor standing at the door of the inn, asking the imperial guards to prepare horses for him. Eunuchan followed behind and urged anxiously, "Your Majesty, the dragon's body is very important. You must not ride on horseback again, otherwise the wind and cold will worsen. You should rest in the inn. I will send someone to fetch some doctors for you. You can go on your way after you recover." Gong Gong'an was ready to talk, but the emperor didn't listen to him at all. Seeing Ning Chui, Mr. An felt like he had seen a savior. "Master Ning, please advise the emperor quickly." Commander Peng and Duke Ning also looked at Ning Chui expectantly. They tried to persuade him for a long time, but the emperor insisted on having his own way and could not force him to stay. But the emperor waved his hands before Ning Chui could speak and said, "Don't worry, I know what's going on. It's just a little bit of wind and cold. When I was young, I still went into battle to kill the enemy when I had a high fever. Now I'm just riding on horseback, and I'm not too sick to walk." Ning Chui frowned and said in a cold voice, "You also said that happened when you were young. Since you are not feeling well now, you should have a good rest. It will not be too late to go on your way after you have asked a doctor to cure you. Xian Qingguan is right there and won't run away." Ning Chui said something rude, and the emperor glared at him dissatisfied. I wanted to get angry, but I realized that he didn't know about it, so I could only hold back my anger. Suan Kigwan cannot run. But he was afraid that Ning Chuchu's illness would not last long and he would not even be able to see her for the last time. He had missed her for so many years, and now that he knew she was not dead, he wished he could appear in front of her immediately. Even if the sky falls, it can't stop him from seeing her. Seeing that he could not be persuaded, Ling Chu had no choice but to stand up and said, "Your Majesty, you are passing through Yangkou County when you go to Xianqing Temple. There happens to be a medical center there. Why not go there to see a doctor for diagnosis and treatment? If the problem is not serious, there is no need to rush on your way. Late. Thanks to Candy. CDN 15021620352968 monthly votes for their support. Thanks to Chen, IC, Family Harmony is Happiness, Why We Grow Old, Seongbin, Colorful Life, Official. DC, Panax Noto Ginseng. DB, Fenkishan, This Moment, Laugh With You, Squint and Smile, 20170318191430835835, Freedom is Like the Wine 459, Hope That Dreams Come True, Chen, China Fuse, Lazy Zixi, CHLWCH, Yunyun Zongshen, .v, Candy. CD, Shangsuan Yu, Guan. DC, Strong Wind and Lightning, Candy. CD, Pick Up the Future, XXC, Colored Life, and other book friends recommendation votes support it. Thanks to Hungziu and the book friends who support Hungziu. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 400. The emperor has been on the throne for so many years and is used to pampering himself. He usually doesn't show off when he feels uncomfortable. While on the road this time, I got caught in the rain, caught the cold and had a fever. In fact, I felt really uncomfortable. It's just that he is worried about Ning Chuchu's condition and can't wait to see her. But he was also worried that if he was not diagnosed and treated in time and continued to rush regardless of the journey, if he fell ill, he would be wasted a lot of time on the road. It would be better to go to Yanqu County to see a doctor first. If the problem is not serious, he can prescribe some medicine and then go on his way. The emperor thought clearly and immediately said, "Then let's go to Yanqu County first." Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Instead of wasting words and words here to continue to persuade, it is better to rush to Yanqu County as soon as possible and find a doctor to diagnose and treat the emperor. Ning Chui and Peng Xiao told everyone to pack up and set off immediately. Fortunately, the sky was already getting slightly brighter, so we no longer had to carry torches on our way. But by the time we arrived at Yanqu County, it was already noon. The emperor did not intend to let outsiders know about his trip to Beijing, and he did not make any publicity when he arrived in Yanqu County. The emperor had a fever and traveled such a long distance, so it was inevitable that the wind and cold would make him worse. Fortunately, Ning Chui sent someone to rush to the county seat first, arranged the inn, and invited all the doctors who knew medical skills in the county to the inn. The emperor and his entourage rushed to the inn, and the doctors immediately took turns to diagnose his pulse. Those doctors did not know the identity of the emperor, but seeing so many imperial soldiers with swords, they guessed that his identity must be unusual. Therefore, he was very careful in diagnosing the pulse, for fear that if something went wrong, he would lose his life. After diagnosing the pulse, several doctors discussed, and finally cautiously prescribed a prescription. Yunakan took the prescription and immediately took it to the door and handed it to Sun Yuanzheng. Sun Yuanzheng himself was still suffering from a fever, so naturally he was unable to treat the emperor. After forcing himself to get to the inn in Yanqu County, he saw that the emperor's cold was getting worse and he did not dare to rest. In order to avoid transmitting his illness to the emperor, he did not dare to get close. I could only stand at the door from a distance, trying hard to listen to the doctors diagnosing my pulse. From their discussion, Sun Yuanzheng heard that they had real abilities, and he felt a little relieved. Taking the prescription, he looked at it carefully and found nothing wrong with it. Then he nodded sternly at Mr. N. Yunakan immediately ordered someone to take the prescription to the medical clinic to buy medicine. After a while, the medicine was returned. Because he was worried about the emperor's condition, Gong Gong kept all the doctors behind. He also told them that they would have to wait until their condition improved before they were allowed to leave. However, in order to allow them to treat the emperor with peace of mind, Yunakan rewarded each doctor with a sum of money. Although they were worried, the officials did not dare to complain because the reward given by Gong Gong was generous. After catching the medicine, a doctor even offered to help him prepare the medicine. The doctor prepared the medicine himself, so Mr. N naturally couldn't ask for it. However, for the sake of caution, Yunakan still arranged for 2 people to keep an eye on the doctor as he prepared the medicine. The emperor was not very energetic. After eating something, he planned to rest for a while and wait for the medicine to be cooked before drinking it. Seeing that Sun Yuanzheng was still guarding the door of the room uneasily, the emperor cheered up and ordered Yunakan to ask the doctors to diagnose and treat Sun Yuanzheng. Gongongan has served the emperor for many years and is his confidant. Knowing that the emperor wanted Sun Yuanzheng to treat Ning Chuchu, he was also worried that Sun Yuanzheng's condition would worsen. Hearing the emperor's instructions, he immediately followed them. After the medicine was cooked and the emperor took it, the high fever slowly began to subside, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Once he relaxed, Ling Chu couldn't hold on any longer. I asked the waiter at the inn to prepare hot water, and after washing myself, I was about to take a rest when I suddenly heard someone knocking on the door. Opening the door, he saw Ning Chui standing at the door, holding a tray in his hand. Ling Chu was already tired and hungry, but when he smelled the fragrance, his eyes lit up. Ning Chui was looking down at her, raised the corners of his mouth, and said softly, "I've asked someone to prepare some food that's easy to digest. You can eat it before going to bed." Ling Chu subconsciously wanted to reach out to pick up the tray, but felt something was wrong. She felt a little uncomfortable with Ning Chui, who was so gentle, soft-spoken, and considerate. Since she doesn't plan to get married, she should keep a distance from Mr. Ning to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings. Perhaps sensing what she was thinking, Ning Chui pursed her lips and said softly, "Everyone has finished eating. I saw that you didn't come down to eat, so I guessed that you were washing up, so I brought it up for you. In cold weather, things get cold quickly, so eat them while they're hot and get some rest early. The body is important, but there is still a long way to go." Everything was brought up, and when the topic came up, Ling Chu couldn't refuse. Smiled and reached out to pick up the tray. "Okay, thank you for your trouble." Ning Chui avoided her hand and said warmly, "It's a little heavy, let me carry it in for you." Ling Chu paused, quickly retracted his hand, and turned sideways. "Thank you, sir." Ning Chui walked in and placed a bowl of noodles, a bowl of porridge, and 2 side dishes on the tray on the table. He turned around and checked the wooden window and door to make sure there was nothing wrong. Then he said, "I live in the room on the right. If something happens, just shout, and I can hear you." Ling Chu sighed in his heart, but didn't show anything on his face. He just said softly, "Okay, I'll note it down. Then eat quickly and get some rest early." Ning Chui said again, without saying anything more, turned around and went out, closing the door for her. After he left, Ling Chu walked to the table and sat down. The pasta and porridge brought by Ning Chui were not expensive things, but they were what she wanted. After traveling for several days, I still couldn't have a good meal at Beifangyu Inn. She desperately needs some hot food to replenish her body with energy. But her body is weak and her intestines and stomach are also delicate. If Ning Chui brought big fish, big meat, or some greasy food, she would not be able to eat it at all, and she would not dare to eat it. This pasta and porridge are just right for her. Under Ning Chui's ruthless methods, there is also such a careful and considerate side. If she were in good health, she would really like to try to get along with him for a while, or even marry him. It's just a pity. In this life, she and him were destined to have no connection. Ling Chu sighed. Next time she finds a chance, she still has to make things clear to Mr. Ning. She doesn't want to be a scumbag. Since she can't marry, she must avoid inappropriate things from happening. Having made up his mind, Ling Chu picked up his chopsticks and started eating. When she was 7/10 full, she put down her chopsticks. Her body must be taken care of at all times, and she must try to avoid being overjoyed or sad, and she must not overeat or be hungry all the time. In order to live as long as possible, she must always exercise restraint. After resting for a while, Ling Chu lay down to sleep. I was sleeping soundly at night when I suddenly heard the alarm sound of the system. As soon as Ling Chu opened his eyes, a sudden scream pierced the silent night sky. "It's gone. From the 1st to the 7th, double the monthly pass. Piao piao, piao piao, come to my bowl." I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 401. Chapter 393, Ghost Hits the Wall. After Ling Chu woke up from his dream, he heard shouts from outside. Open the system and view it as soon as possible. Through the system, she saw fire rising into the sky. Many people were running back and forth with basins and buckets, fetching water to put out the fire. In the burning fire, there was a ferocious and strange black shadow struggling fiercely. Ling Chu frowned. It turned out to be a resentful spirit. Without enough time to lament the twists and turns encountered along the way, Ling Chu quickly got out of bed. Put on your shoes, put on your outer clothes, lift your feet and walk out. As soon as he opened the door, he saw Yin Sha standing at the door with his hands raised, as if he was about to knock on the door. Brother Yin. Yin Sha was stunned for a moment, then quickly said, "Did the princess hear the noise outside? I came here just to tell you that the workshop in the back street is in trouble. But don't worry, the adults are taking people to put out the fire." Although the fire started close to the inn, Yin Sha was not too worried. The emperor was in the inn, and most of the imperial troops followed Neng Chui to put out the fire. There were many of them, and they discovered the fire just when it started. I believe it won't take long for the fire to be extinguished. He came to look for Ling Chu, but Neng Chui thought she would be worried when she heard the noise outside, so she asked him to come over and say something. I thought that after listening to his words, the princess would return to the room to continue resting. Unexpectedly, I saw her walking out quickly and saying, "This fire is unusual. There is something dirty in it. It's useless to rely on water alone. I'll help you put out the fire, and I'll bother Brother Yin to remind Mr. N to put things away first. In case the fire cannot be extinguished, the emperor must be allowed to evacuate in time." Yin Sha's eyes narrowed. He had known Ling Chu for a while and had some understanding of her abilities. He did not doubt her words at this time. "Okay, I'll go find Mr. N first. The fire is ruthless, so the princess must be more careful." Ling Chu responded hurriedly and left the inn. The place where the fire broke out was only one street away from the inn, and it was a wax-making workshop. There is only one inn in Yangkou County with less than 20 rooms in total, which cannot accommodate so many forbidden troops. There are not enough guest rooms, so Commander Pang can only disperse other forbidden troops around the inn. In order to protect the emperor conveniently, the imperial guards lived not far away. Commander Pang asked people to take money and rent the houses around the inn for the imperial troops to live. The wax shop in the back street was large and close, so it was also rented by them. It was originally learned that the workers of the wax shop happened to be on vacation and the space was rented to them. The imperial guards were quite happy. But now, they were so regretful that their intestines were green. After running on the road for several days, these imperial troops were very tired. Finally we were able to stop and rest for a night. Everyone was very happy. Someone was put on watch for the night, and the remaining guards quickly fell asleep. But I thought that not long after they lay down, they actually fell into the water. In fact, when they first learned that the wax shop was on fire, these forbidden soldiers were not too worried. After all, there were more than 30 people living here. With so many imperial troops here, they can put out a fire with just a raise of their hands. Although I am not worried, everyone knows that the emperor lives in the inn next door, and they do not dare to take it lightly. Get up quickly and go to fetch water to put out the fire. However, looking at the scene in front of them, everyone felt chills running down their backs. Why do I feel like this fire can't be extinguished? Not only can it not be extinguished, I feel that the more water is poured on it, the bigger the fire will burn. This fire is indeed a bit strange. Have you noticed that the black smoke over there looks like a person waving his teeth and claws? The Forbidden Army has not mentioned it, and others have not discovered it yet. But now looking in the direction of his finger, everyone's hair stood on end for a moment. The black smoke with its teeth and claws splaying out looks more like a ghost than a human being. Are they having a bad luck? It's not just people in the wax shop who think this way. People outside the wax shop were equally uneasy. Hearing the fire, Commander Pang and part of the Imperial Army were left to guard the Emperor at the inn. Ning Chui immediately rushed over with the remaining men. The Imperial guards who were scattered around the inn were worried that the fire would spread to the inn, so they rushed over to prepare to put out the fire. Unexpectedly, when they arrived at the wax workshop where the fire broke out, they found that the door was closed. Ning Chui frowned and motioned to Wei Feng to knock on the door. Alumni. I knocked several times but no one came to open the door. Worried that the people inside wouldn't be able to hear, Wei Feng instead slapped hard and shouted at the people inside to come and open the door. Unexpectedly, after taking more than 10 shots in a row, the door was still closed. I didn't hear any sound from the wax workshop. This is not right. Ordinarily, even if the Imperial guards living inside are busy putting out the fire, if they hear them coming, they should ask someone to open the door. Wei Feng murmured in his heart, could it be that everyone inside was burned to death? Ning Chui made a quick decision, kick the door open. Yes, Sir Wei Feng responded, then raised his foot and kicked him. Boom! The door suddenly opened. Everyone could see at a glance that the inside of the wax workshop was filled with thick smoke. Perhaps the smoke was too thick, and apart from the firelight rising in the sky, it was impossible to see clearly what was going on inside. Sir, let me go in and take a look first. Wei Feng greeted and walked in without waiting for Ning Chui to speak. Several Imperial guards around him also hurriedly followed in. With such a huge fire, Ning Chui would not just stay outside and wait. He walked towards the door with his feet up. The Imperial troops behind him, as well as the surrounding crowds who came after hearing the news, were also ready to go in and help put out the fire. However, as soon as everyone took 2 steps, they saw Wei Feng, who was leading the group, stepping out of the wax workshop. Ning Chui frowned subconsciously. Meeting his gaze, Wei Feng was stunned. Then he saw the familiar scene outside the gate, and his eyes widened in surprise. Sir, I was obviously going in, why did I come out? Wei Feng was so surprised that he stuttered a bit and even forgot the name of his subordinate. Seeing Ning Chui looking at him with a cold face, Wei Feng reached out and patted his forehead, and said awkwardly, my subordinate may not have woken up just now and was confused. He explained, turned around and walked back. But as soon as he turned around, he blurted out, why are you guys coming out too? The 3 Imperial guards who had followed him in just now were standing in front of him. They were confused when they saw Wei Feng. But he found that they were actually standing at the door, and his eyes widened in surprise. We are obviously going to the wax workshop. Wei Feng opened his mouth and looked back and forth between the 3 Imperial guards in front of him and the black smoke in the wax workshop. Suddenly he stretched out his hand to push the person in front of him away, raised his feet and walked inside. However, Wei Feng soon stepped in and stepped out again. At this time, everyone's jaws almost dropped to the ground in shock. The 3 Imperial guards next to them looked at each other and tried it in disbelief. But the result is still confusing for them. Can't get into this wax workshop. The crowd was silent for a while, and suddenly someone said in horror, this is a ghost hitting the wall. Thanks to 2 book friends 213,209 and Fei Wenli for their monthly support. Thank you Panax Noto Ginseng. DB, CMEA, Why We Grow Old, Prose. BA, Uner Blowing in the Wind, Xianbin, 201703181914308335, Yinze. At this moment, laugh with you, Prose. BA, Feng Kishan, Guan Guan. DC, Guan Guan. DC, Chen, 2023-033-1230. De, China Fuse. 1502162035296889, Phi Wenli, Care, Hope Dreams Come True, Shangsuan Yu, Ning, Penyong Fang, 201706161940236220, CLWCH, Xiao Yuer, Lazy Zixi, Freedom Like the Wine 459, All Living Things, .v, 467,058, XXC, Knife supported by recommendation votes from book friends such as Scarred, XXC, Colorful Life, and Forget Me Not. Thanks to Hungzio and Xiaoxiang for supporting book friends. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 402. That sound of ghost hitting the wall made many people feel chilly. There are timid people who immediately want to retreat. Just seeing the fire that was still burning, I couldn't help but worry that the wind would help the fire and affect the neighboring houses. It would be terrible if their own home was burned down as well. Many people have heard of ghosts hitting the wall, but this is the first time they have seen it with their own eyes. The wax workshop cannot be entered, and everyone does not know what to do. Ning Chui took a look at the black smoke inside, pursed her lips and strode across the threshold. Wei Feng opened his mouth and closed it again. Just followed closely behind him. The Imperial guards at the back looked at each other and followed quickly. I don't believe that there is such a sinister door that no one can get in. Everyone did not believe in evil and walked inside while holding their breath. It's a pity that some things are just so evil. Just for a while. Without exception, everyone stood at the beginning. Some people had sweat on their foreheads. This wax workshop is really weird. Not only is Ning Chui and the forbidden troops unable to enter. Those neighbors who came to help, one by one, tried all, but no one could succeed. But before the fire, the wax shop was clearly operating normally. Just today, someone went in to buy candles, and there was nothing unusual about it. Just when he was at a loss, someone in the crowd suddenly shouted in surprise, "Chiu Mao is here." Ning Chui didn't intend to pay attention to a stranger. But I heard others say that he was the young master of the wax workshop. Ning Chui turned around and saw a man of various shapes hurriedly squeezing in from the crowd. Is there a secret passage to enter the workshop? Chiu Mao frowned. He was annoyed when he saw that his workshop was in ruins. Everyone only gathered outside the door to watch the excitement but did not help put out the fire. Hearing Ning Chui's inexplicable question, he subconsciously wanted to get angry. But seeing that his momentum was overwhelming, he could only suppress his anger. Chiu Mao shook his head, "The workshop has only one gate." Someone in the crowd immediately said, "What should we do, Chiu Mao? The ghosts of your wax shop have broken down the wall and can't get in." Chiu Mao was originally uneasy about the sudden fire in the wax workshop, but when he heard the words "ghosts beating the wall," he felt a sudden shock in his heart. "Chiu Mao, none of us can go in, but this is your wax workshop, you should be able to go in, right?" Before he came back, Chiu Mao was very anxious. But at this moment, he didn't want to go in at all. Seeing him standing still, someone urged, "Chiu Mao, are you scared to death? Your father is still inside, why don't you hurry in and take a look?" I urged him several times, but Chiu Mao felt like there were nails under his feet and couldn't move. Seeing that his face turned pale and his forehead was sweating, everyone thought he was afraid because he saw the fire was too strong. Only Chiu Mao knew that what he was afraid of was not fire. But he had a premonition that if he went in, he would die inside. Ning Chui's eyes turned cold, something was wrong with Chiu Mao. Aware of his gaze, Chiu Mao suddenly felt like a light on his back. Subconsciously, he turned his head and met Ning Chui's sharp gaze. Chiu Mao shuddered in his heart. After hesitating for a while, he bravely walked to the wax workshop. Everyone present stared at Chiu Mao curiously, wondering if he could go in. It's just that the result is destined to be disappointing. Chiu Mao entered the wax workshop, but like everyone else, he walked out again for no apparent reason. Chiu Mao stood outside the door, his forehead was covered with big beads of sweat, but he felt a faint sigh of relief in his heart. If he can't get in, he won't die. When he heard that the wax shop was leaked, he was worried that someone would find out about it. But now that no one can enter, his secret will not be exposed. At this moment, Chiu Mao even secretly hoped that the fire inside would burn as big as possible. It would be best if everything in the wax workshop was burned down. That way his secret will never be discovered. As for the people who rented the wax workshop, as well as his father, don't blame him if they die. It's not that he didn't want to save their lives, it was just that he couldn't get in at all. He tried his best, and he can only blame God for not opening his eyes. Chiu Mao was secretly rejoicing when he suddenly noticed eyes falling on him again. Hurrying to calm down, he raised his hand to wipe the sweat to hide the expression on his face. Ning Chui glanced at Chiu Mao coldly, then looked away from Chiu Mao. He saw that there must be something wrong with him, but he didn't understand it at the moment. The lives of the Imperial Guards inside are more important. Wei Feng looked at Ning Chui who was looking at the black smoke in the wax workshop. "Sir, please go down and ask Miss Han to come over." Ning Chui's eyes paused, and the bloodless face flashed in his mind. After driving for several days, she was finally able to lie down and sleep. He didn't want to trouble her unless he had to. Ning Chui suddenly turned around and walked out of the wax shop. Wei Feng was wondering why he left. I saw him walking from the gate to the left side and looked up. He quickly ordered, "Someone, come and tear down this wall." The wax shop couldn't be entered, and Ning Chui found that something was wrong with the black smoke inside. He just discovered that the black smoke inside was gathering together and not spreading out. Can't hear any movement inside. There are still so many Imperial Guards in the wax workshop. I heard that the owner of the workshop is also there. No matter whether they are alive or dead, we have to go in and take a look. Since the gate cannot be entered, then smash the wall. When Chiu Mao heard that he was about to smash the wall, he subconsciously wanted to stop it. But he knew that if he really did this, others would be suspicious. Not to mention the candles in the workshop and the people who rented them, even his father was in it. If he stopped others from smashing the wall to help him put out the fire, wouldn't that mean there was something fishy in the wax workshop? Chiu Mao had no idea but to pray that the fire inside would burn away his secret. Even if these people went in, they wouldn't be able to find it. In the absence of the emperor, the imperial troops obeyed Ning Chui's orders. They are all martial arts students. With one palm strike, the wall collapsed. Ning Chui was the first to walk in. Wei Feng and other Jinyai Wei also raised their heels. It's a pity that it was demolished and no one can get in. The strange thing is that even after the wall was demolished, the black smoke inside did not spread out. Although we can't get in, the wall has been demolished and everyone can see more clearly from where they are standing than before. But it made everyone even more upset. What they saw clearly was not the people inside, but the black mist. Hideous and twisted, terrifying like a ghost. What makes everyone feel even more weird is that the ghostly black mist seems to have discovered them and is turning its head to stare at everyone. Many of the Imperial Guards subconsciously put their hands on the knives at their waists, ready to fight back at any time. But after waiting for a while, everyone secretly breathed a sigh of relief when they saw that the black mist did not attack them. Although they appear calm on the surface, they are actually unsure in their hearts. After all, no one has ever dealt with the black mist, so the devil knows how to destroy it. The black fog stared at me for a while and then suddenly dispersed. Although it is still gathered in the same place, it is not the same as before. It looks like a ghost. Wei Feng suddenly became happy. Sir, Miss Han is here. It's not good to call the princess in front of outsiders, so I have to call her Miss Han. Hearing Wei Feng's words, Ning Chui turned around subconsciously. Careful. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 403. Ning Chui turned around and saw Ling Chu rushing towards him with all his strength. A trace of worry immediately appeared on his expressionless face. You are not in good health, but you are still running so fast, so don't faint. As soon as he became worried, he saw her expression change and heard her cautious voice. Ning Chui sensed something was wrong and waved the long sword in his hand with lightning. But nothing was struck. Looking sideways, I realized that the strange black mist from before was coming quietly. Everyone felt their eyes go dark, and before they had time to react, a sudden strong force came and they were sucked in by the black smoke. This sudden change made many people frightened and screamed in horror. They were answered by an eerie and ghostly cry. Wei Feng and a group of forbidden soldiers were relatively calm and fought hard to kill with their swords. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful they were in martial arts, they could not hurt the black smoke at all. They were swept away as well. Ling Chu could only run a dozen steps, but his chest felt like it was about to explode. She stopped immediately. She cannot die. Otherwise none of those people would be able to escape the vicious hands of the resentful spirit. Even if one person is not good, the entire Yangkou County will probably become on earth. Seeing the black mist sweep everyone up into the air, Ling Chu pressed his heart that was beating wildly, took a deep breath, and quickly summoned the shovel out of the system. The big shovel immediately rushed into the wax workshop with thunderous momentum, flew into the air, and slapped the human-shaped black mist hard. As a painful and shrill howl sounded, the humanoid black mist suddenly retreated. Those people who were swept away immediately fell to the ground with a bang. The Imperial guards in the wax workshop were exhausted. But they found that no matter how much water they poured in, the fire could not be extinguished. They also found that they could not get out of the wax workshop. Thought many ways to no avail. Such a fire was very strange. They had never heard of it or seen it before. The entire wax workshop was shrouded in black smoke. People inside could not get out, and most likely no one from outside could get in either. Even Chiu Chengtong, the owner of the wax shop, was helpless. Just when they thought they were going to be buried in the wax workshop, they discovered that the strange black mist rolled in many people from outside. Seeing that cold face, one of the Imperial guards shouted in surprise, "Master Ning." The black mist retreated, and many of the Imperial guards saw their familiar comrades and were overjoyed. "Great, you are finally here." The custodians inside thought they were finally saved. It can be seen that the faces of the people who came in were not good, and then they realized that they had been sucked in by the black mist. Ning Chui glanced around and saw that although the people living in Waxfang were in a mess, luckily there were no casualties. Not knowing what was going on with her outside, he picked up his feet and walked out. However, I found that I couldn't get out. Sir, it's useless. It's like a ghost beating a wall here. We can't get out. Want to leave, dream, you all must die. Hearing a burst of eerie laughter, everyone looked up and found that the dissipated black mist had gathered into a human shape. Hare's face couldn't help but change. Suddenly, a cold female voice was heard, "If you want them to die, then you have to ask me if I agree." Ning Chui suddenly felt relieved and looked outside following the sound. Ling Chu was walking to the door of the wax workshop. He didn't expect that someone would dare to refute him. He was stunned for a moment, and then became furious. "Bitch, if you want to save them, you have to see if you have the ability to come in." Even a ghost dared to scold her. Ling Chu retorted unceremoniously, "Then let me show you, you bitch, if I am capable of this. Ling Chu took out a piece of talisman paper, recited a spell, stepped on the Tiangang steps, and approached the wax workshop step by step. When he was approaching the door, he raised his hand and the talisman rushed forward. The resentful soul floated over in a hurry. I was a little worried at first, but seeing that the talisman paper was so light, I couldn't help but despise it. But he didn't expect the talisman to suddenly explode like a thunder. Boom! The barrier transformed by the black mist was blown to pieces. The resentful spirit let out a shrill scream. See Ling Chu step into the wax workshop. Immediately pounced towards her ferociously. Ning Chui's heart tightened and she quickly followed. He wanted to deal with the black smoke, but was stopped by Ling Chu. Sir, please rest and let me do it. After finishing speaking, he pulled out the Bodhi whip and whipped it with his backhand at the humanoid black smoke rushing towards him. Ah! A strange cry rang out, and the black smoke twisted in pain, unable to maintain its human shape, and scattered in all directions. In just a few breaths, the black smoke gathered into a human shape again. With a ferocious expression, his eyes were fiery red and terrifying, he glared at Ling Chu fiercely. Bitch, you deserve to die, why don't you die? While cursing, he rushed toward Ling Chu wrapped in thick black smoke, trying to suffocate her to death. But Ling Chu was not an ordinary person, so naturally he would not sit still and wait for death. Once the mouth-cleansing talisman is used, no matter how strong the smoke is, it will have no effect on her. The resentful soul was so angry that Ling Chu didn't want to waste any more energy, so he took out a magic bell. Shake shake. Jingle. The resentful soul was attacked by the magic bell. After howling a few times, it suddenly disappeared. Even the fire that could not be extinguished no matter how much water was poured out was extinguished. The neighbors who were involved were worried for a long time, but finally breathed a sigh of relief when the crisis was resolved. With lingering fear in his heart, he said to Qiu Changtong, Qiu Dongjia, what's going on in your wax shop? Why is there such weird black smoke that drags us all in? How could Qiu Changtong know what was going on? He looked at the imperial guards with suspicion in his heart. His wax shop used to be good, but these people suddenly came to rent it, and it suddenly became flooded at night. Such a coincidence, I don't know if it has anything to do with them. Chiu Mao was relieved when he saw that the huge blessing wax in the wax workshop was still intact. At this time, seeing his father looking at the forbidden army with a bad expression, he rolled his eyes. Everyone knows that my wax shop was still fine this morning. We also want to know why there was a sudden leak and why it was so weird. A black smoke. Chiu Mao is now very dissatisfied with the imperial guards, who almost ruined his affairs. Originally, he planned to take advantage of the opportunity of delivering candles to the temple today to transport the blessing wax out and dispose of it quietly. Unexpectedly, when he came back from the city in the afternoon, he learned that his father had rented the wax workshop to outsiders. In order to earn more money, his father even rented his house, and he could only stay at other relatives' houses. If it hadn't been for those people, he would have dealt with the blessings long ago, so how could these bad things happen? Seeing the pointed looks from Qiu Changtong and his son, the imperial guards were so angry that they couldn't help but stab people with knives. They were just renting the wax house for one night, but they were so unlucky to encounter a flood, and the strange black smoke had nothing to do with them. Those neighbors didn't know the truth, so they inevitably believed in Qiu Changtong and his son, and whispered to the imperial guards. Ling Chu glanced at them and said coldly to Qiu Changtong, Qiu Dongjia, the matter in your wax shop has nothing to do with us. It was your son who caused the trouble. End of chapter. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 404. Impossible. Qiu Changtong frowned. How could it be that his son had caused the trouble? Chiu Mao's heart thumped and he glared angrily, where are you from, girl, talking nonsense here? Ling Chu's face turned cold. Mr. Chu, your seal is darkened, and a disaster is imminent. If you sincerely repent now and ask for forgiveness from the resentful soul, there may be a glimmer of hope for you. Otherwise, today next year will be your death anniversary. The neighbors looked at each other in confusion. Could it be that the strange black smoke just now was actually a resentful spirit? Seeing Chiu Mao being criticized by his neighbors, a woman walked out of the crowd and said, "Girl, my son-in-law is a kind and filial man. How could he attract any grudges? Have you made a mistake?" When Ling Chu saw this woman, he couldn't help but look her up and down. Why did she feel that the woman's face was similar to the resentful spirit just now? Think about it for a while, then raise your hands to do some calculations. After putting down his hand, he glanced at the woman with pity. "You said your son-in-law is kind and filial? Then do you know that he was the one who killed your daughter?" "Impossible. My son-in-law is very good to my daughter," Ludo's mother blurted out with wide eyes. Others also said, "Did the girl just tell fortunes? Are your fortune tellings accurate?" Everyone knows that Chiu Mao and his wife Ludo Erniang have the best relationship. They have never had a quarrel in the years since they were married. How could it be possible to kill her? Everyone nodded. The woman was right. Chiu Mao really loved his wife very much, but it was a pity that his wife was in poor health and died within a few years of their marriage. When she died, Chiu Mao was heartbroken. If he hadn't still missed his parents at home, he would have almost accompanied her on the road to hell. That's right, even if Sister Ludo doesn't get pregnant 5 years after getting married, Brother Chiu is not dissatisfied with her at all. How can you, a girl, just wrongly accuse a good person? Ling Chu said nothing, looking at the girl in red as if looking at a dead person. Chiu Mao felt uneasy when he saw her staring at the girl. "Where did you come from? Do you think others will believe you if you just say a few words? You girl doesn't understand the rules at all, and you even came to my workshop to curse. We don't welcome you here, so leave quickly." Ning Chui glanced around with cold eyes and walked towards Ling Chu. "Since others are determined to find their own death, why should you waste your efforts?" Ling Chu smiled and put away the Bodhi whip. "Your Majesty is right, the life and death of others has nothing to do with me. If I have that time, I might as well take a rest." The imperial guards knew what Ling Chu was capable of and became angry when they saw her being scolded. They do not plan to continue renting this wax workshop. Seeing Ling Chu turning around to leave, Ludo's mother suddenly felt regretful. She recalled that a few days ago, she always dreamed of her dead daughter crying to her, saying that she died miserably. Could it be that the death of the daughter is really related to the son-in-law? Ludo's mother wanted to hold the girl and ask her carefully, but she hesitated when she thought about the rude remarks everyone had made to her just now. Ling Chu noticed that Ludo Mu was hesitant to speak, but he didn't plan to say anything more. Nhu Mao was so good at disguising that it was difficult for Ludo's mother to believe that he had killed her daughter. She was in poor health and had not been able to rest well these past few days. She really did not have the energy to convince a stranger to believe her. Anyway, even if Chiu Mao didn't die today, he wouldn't have a few more days to live. Whether she exposes him or not, he will die. Ling Chu turned around and left, but after taking only a few steps, a sudden exclamation came from behind. "Ah, the water is running out." Ling Chu paused in his steps. It's not that she is soft-hearted and wants to meddle in others' affairs. But the black smoke came out again, and the houses around the wax shop were on fire. They were trapped in the middle and could not get out. This time the fire burned more fiercely than before. The air was filled with a strong and unpleasant smell of wax and oil, and thick smoke billowed all around. There were obviously flames everywhere, and everyone was sweating from the heat. But the black smoke was so weird and made people feel chilly. Chiu Chengtong and his son looked at the burning house and felt heartbroken. There are ready-made candles in the room, and they are all made of silver. As the thick smoke billowed, the father and son soon couldn't care less about their heartache. The pungent smell and smoke made everyone choke to tears and make it difficult to breathe. Someone wants to run away. But it was surrounded by black smoke, and it was like a ghost beating a wall with no way out. Ling Chu sighed, took out the talisman and made a spell, quickly pushing back the black smoke around him. Some people found that the black smoke did not dare to come near them, and rushed over with joy. Ling Chu noticed it, but she ignored it. They were now standing in the yard of the wax shop. The surrounding houses were on fire, except for one house in the middle that was not on fire. The strange thing is that the houses on both sides are obviously burning, but the house in the middle seems to be isolated by a transparent barrier. Ling Chu frowned, feeling that something was wrong in the room. Qiu Dong's house, what's in that house? Everyone present also noticed that the room in the middle was not on fire, and they were looking at it curiously. Qiu Qingtong's face turned pale. There is nothing special in that room, there is only a pair of big blessing wax made for Qingfeng Temple. As soon as Qiu Qingtong finished speaking, a soul suddenly rose out of the room and floated into the air. Seeing the face of that soul, there was a gasp in the crowd. Luo's mother cried out sadly, "Second mother." That soul is none other than her dead daughter Luo Erniang. Luo Erniang obviously lost her mind after her death. She ignored Luo's mother's shouts and rushed towards her ferociously. "Bitch, you all deserve to die. Die for me." Seeing such a terrifying ghost, many people ran away in fear. But surrounded by black smoke, there was no way to escape. Ning Chui and a group of forbidden soldiers drew their swords and prepared to take action. But in fact, they have little confidence in their hearts. Ling Chu naturally knew that ordinary swords could not hurt the resentful soul, so he quickly summoned a shovel and let it attack. Then he handed the Bodhi whip to Ning Chui, and took out a stack of talismans and handed them to Wei Feng, indicating that he would distribute them to the forbidden troops. As for other people, she can't care so much. I didn't bring jade with me when I left Beijing, so I had to leave some energy for the system. Seeing the resentful spirit rushing towards him, Ling Chu took back the shovel and rang the bell. He quickly threw out a piece of talisman paper, Canopy Tianpeng, Ju Yuan Shatong. Wu Ding Duzi, Gao Diao Beigong. 7 governments and 8 spirits, Tais Hang Huo. Long-headed giant beast, holding an imperial bell. Su Xiao Sanshan, Yan rides Kuei Long, the mighty sword of the divine king, slaying evil and destroying all traces. The resentful spirit was knocked back for a moment, and soon rushed over again wrapped in black mist. With no way to retreat, Ling Chu could only throw out the talisman again. Purple energy rises in the sky, and red clouds rush forward. Swallowing devils and ghosts, drinking the wind. An old man with pale tongue and green teeth, 4 eyes. Tianding strongman, Vinan Yu fierce, Tianzu is fierce, and he is leading the charge from the north. 300,000 soldiers are guarding me, and his body is thousands of miles away, but it is ominous to go. Unable to escape, those behind could only watch in fear as Ling Chu fought with the ghost. At this time, no one thought she was a magic stick anymore. Instead, they wished she was a descending to earth and killed the ghost as soon as possible. The resentful soul didn't know how it died. The resentment on his body was soaring to the sky. Ling Chu's beating was not easy, and soon beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Ning Chui felt distressed and helpless, so she just waved the Bodhi whip in her hand to create an after-image, and whipped it hard at the ghost. End of chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 405. Dare there be any little ghosts who want to come and see what's going on? They grab the big axe from the sky and kill the ghosts in all 5 shapes. Emperor Yan split the blood, Baidu burns the bones. The 4 brights shattered the skeletons, the gods destroyed the species, and with one strike of the magic sword, all the ghosts collapsed. Kill. The resentful soul was hit by Ling Chu's spell and flew far away, rolling in mid-air in pain. Ling Chu was panting slightly, his brows furrowed deeply. This ghost was beaten by her so much that his soul was much lighter than before and he was seriously injured. But her resentment did not diminish much. Ling Chu had never expected to leave the capital suddenly, so most of the talismans she made on weekdays were delivered to the Daewon Pavilion before the ceremony. She doesn't have many talismans with her. I have been on the road these days and have no time to make it. That resentful soul has so much resentment that it may not give up easily. If the beating continues, there will not be enough talisman paper, and her body may not be able to bear it. Have to think of a way. Otherwise, if she dies, none of the people in the wax workshop will be able to escape. If these living people are eaten, the resentful soul will definitely become stronger. At that time, everyone in Yangkou County will die. Seeing that the resentful soul had withstood this wave of pain, it was ready to pounce again. Ling Chu quickly summoned a shovel and stopped her. Luo Erniang, do you have an unfulfilled wish? Just say it and I will help you complete it. Okay. Ling Chu spoke softly, pinched a soul requiem magic formula in his hand, and felt a comforting force. The light rushed towards Luo Erniang's soul, and she slowly calmed down. Possibly due to lack of sanity, she did not speak and looked at Ling Chu with a confused look in her eyes. It's like I can't remember who I am or what I want to do. Looking at her daughter like this, Luo's mother was filled with sorrow when she thought of the dream she had not long ago. The beloved daughter's heart overcame her fear, and she rushed out of the crowd. Er Niang, do you have something to say to your mother? If you have any unfinished thoughts, tell your mother and she will help you finish it, okay. Luo Erniang looked away from Ling Chu and turned to Luo's mother. But because she was unconscious, she couldn't remember that this was her mother who gave birth to her and turned a blind eye to the tears on her face. Just murmured, wish? Yes, I have unfulfilled intentions. After becoming a ghost, she felt resentful. She wanted to kill these people based on her instinct, but she forgot what she originally wanted to do. I saw her trying to remember. The woman in red in the crowd looked a little anxious and secretly gave Chiu Mao a look. Chiu Mao nodded calmly, took 2 steps forward, and said affectionately, Er Niang, are you worried about your mother-in-law? Don't worry, I promised you that I will take good care of our mother. Luo Erniang forgot about her mother, but when she saw Chiu Mao, she had a look of admiration on her face. She floated over and murmured, husband. The woman in red glanced at Luo Erniang with jealous eyes. When she walked forward to Chiu Mao, she had already put on a gentle expression, Sister Luo, Brother Chiu will take good care of your parents. Don't worry about reincarnation well. You are in poor health and will die early. Remember to be reborn in a healthy body in your next life, and don't die again at a young age. I don't know what the woman in red said that stimulated Luo Erniang, and she suddenly became manic again, bitch, you are all bitches, you all deserve to die, I will eat you. They said they would eat everyone, but when Luo Erniang saw Chiu Mao, she thought of something and suddenly held her head and howled in pain. Luo's mother was distressed and cried out, Er Niang, what's wrong with you? Luo's mother was worried because her daughter couldn't remember her and she looked like this again. But Luo Erniang had no sense of this. She held her head and cried and laughed for a while, with a gloomy grimace and 2 lines of tears streaming down her face. Chiu Mao's eyes flashed when he saw his wife in pain. Trying to put on an affectionate but uncomfortable expression, Er Niang, it's my fault. Your health is not good. It's all my fault that I didn't take good care of you and let you go early. Er Niang, I blame our fate in this life for being too short. Er Niang, you can go in peace. We will be husband and wife again in the next life. Even though she knew that Chiu Mao was not telling the truth, the girl in red couldn't help but be jealous. Seeing the once extremely happy Luo Erniang become so eerie and terrifying, the woman in red felt very happy, but she still felt it was not enough. Sister Luo, since you are dead, the underworld is the place you should go to. If you force yourself to stay in the human world like this, it will harm your parents and brother Qiu. Brother Qiu is so kind to you, but you have been married for several years and have not been able to conceive a child. Not only did you kill brother Qiu, but now you want to kill him? Sister Luo, how can you be so selfish? The words of the woman in red with ulterior motives pierced into Luo Erniang's heart like a knife. Scenes from her lifetime flashed through her mind like a revolving lantern. She suddenly stopped howling, slowly put down her hands, and raised her head, starting straight in the direction of the woman in red and Qiu Mao. Is she selfish? Her husband is very kind to her? She caused her husband to die? This bitch, and a bastard, does not count as killing her, but confuses right and wrong to deceive the world. Poor her unborn child. Luo Erniang's face suddenly twisted, and terrifying resentment erupted from her body. Bitch, bitch, you deserve to die. You all deserve to die. As Luo Erniang's resentment soared, the weather in the wax workshop quickly became gloomy, with black smoke and red flames all around. Even though the fire was still burning, everyone felt a chill on their backs and trembling in every pore. Luo Erniang's long hair was flying, and she raised her head and screamed. The people in the neighbors were trembling with fear and wanted to run away, but they were too frightened to move. Seeing that Luo Erniang had finally calmed down, but was ruined by the woman in red with a few words, Ling Chu was so angry that he wanted to chop them with a knife. Not caring about his heartache, Ling Chu quickly took out the few remaining talismans and flicked them towards Luo Erniang, trying to comfort her. Seeing that Qiu Mao and the woman in red still wanted to provoke her with words, Ling Chu said urgently, "Sir." As if he knew what Ling Chu was going to do, Ning Chui didn't wait for her to finish speaking. Wei Feng. As soon as the words came out of his mouth, Ning Chui flashed and was in front of Qiu Mao in the next moment. Looking at Ning Chui with a stern face, Qiu Mao felt a sudden shock in his heart. Before he could say anything, Ning Chui raised his leg and kicked him hard. Qiu Mao felt a sudden pain in his heart, and his body rolled backwards twice before stopping. His whole body curled up on the ground in pain. He raised his head with difficulty, and what greeted him was a sharp sword held to his neck. On the other side, the woman in red glared at Wei Feng angrily. She was almost able to drive Luo Erniang crazy. I was really unwilling to let that girl destroy her. The woman in red was very angry, but she did not dare to speak again. Although the man didn't kick her, she knew that if she dared to do anything again, he would definitely kill her. Ling Chu used a lot of talismans, but unfortunately he couldn't appease Luo Erniang. She thought of her tragic death and the child who would die before he was born, and the evil spirit exploded and the talismans on her body were blown away. Ling Chu was so shocked that her blood surged, but she couldn't care about herself. Seeing Luo Erniang rushing toward the crowd with red eyes, she could only grit her teeth and move forward. "Princess, be careful." Ning Chui turned around suddenly, and his handsome face that had always remained calm even when Mount Tai collapsed suddenly changed. Thanks to Dusty Memory and Penglai Jiangxia monthly tickets for their support. Thank you for the Dusty Memory, Colorful Life, 202212010052452118, CMEA, 2023-082-8227. AC, The Story of the Goat Song and Eyes, 1502162035296889, The Future with a Pen, Xianbin, 201703181914308335, The Dream of the Distant Mountains, Chen, Shangsuanyu, 202301210127022243, 2023-033-1230. De, Feifi, Yunyun Zongshen, CHLWCH. Prose. B.A., Prose. B.A., Blue Ice Rain Love. Ed., This Moment, Laugh With You, 13119213222849, China Fuse, Freedom Like the Wind 459, Lazy Zixi, Daoyo. EB.V, Panax Noto Ginseng. DB. Why We Grow Old, 641,417, Ixixi and other book friends recommendation votes supported. Thanks to Hungziu and the book friends who support Hungziu. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 406. Chapter 398 Rescue. Luo Erniang's outburst of resentment exceeded Ling Chu's expectation, and she was knocked away by the other party's palm. Seeing Luo Erniang chasing after her, Ning Chui quickly turned around and jumped into the air on tiptoes. After catching Ling Chu, he quickly turned around. The expected pain did not come. Feeling that he seemed to have fallen into a hard embrace, Ling Chu subconsciously opened his eyes. But I heard a muffled groan. Ling Chu's expression changed. Sir. Ning Chui lowered his eyes and saw her expression changed. He quickly avoided Luo Erniang's claws, held her for a few times, and then put her down when she was far away. It's a little injury, don't worry. After saying something hastily, Ning Chui took the Bodhi whip and flew towards Luo Erniang. Over there, Luo Erniang saw Ning Chui hugging Ling Chu and leaving, so she didn't pursue him anymore. Instead, he rushed into the crowd and killed everyone on sight. Some Imperial guards stepped forward to stop her, but they were all beaten away by her. Although Luo Erniang doesn't know martial arts, her resentment is too strong and she can easily injure a living person. Fortunately, those forbidden soldiers had the talisman given by Ling Chu to protect themselves, so they did not lose their lives. But those neighbors were not so lucky. Some were frightened and fainted, some were injured by evil spirits, and a few were even poisoned. Niang, stop it, don't kill anyone. Luo's mother cried so hard that her heart broke. She wanted to step forward to stop her, but Luo's father and son rushed over and hugged her tightly. Chiu Mao and the woman in red did not expect that Luo Erniang was not killed, but rushed into the crowd. The two of them had a good eye and always hid behind the Imperial guards. Ling Chu was injured by Luo Erniang's evil spirit, and the pain made his blood surge. He supported a big tree in the courtyard to calm down, then took out a bottle of wound medicine with trembling hands, poured out one pill and swallowed it. Take a deep breath, sit cross-legged with your back against a big tree, and perform Taoist healing techniques with your hands. After taking the wound medicine, a coolness soon spread from her throat, soothing the pain on her body. Ning Chui took a quick look and saw Wei Feng guarding her, and then breathed a sigh of relief. Concentrate on dealing with Luo Erniang. Although Ning Chui does not understand mysticism, he cannot exert the power of the Bodhi whip. But he had martial arts skills and was fast, so Luo Erniang didn't hurt him again. She herself was struck several times by Ning Chui's whip. Luo's mother felt sorry for her being beaten, which shows that her daughter had killed several people and knew that if no one restrained her, more people would die. She could only watch her daughter being beaten. Ling Chu breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Ning Chui was not injured. The mood is very complicated. Not long ago, she rejected Mr. Ning's proposal of marriage. She didn't expect that in order to save her, he used his back to bear Luo Erniang's slap. How can she repay such a great favor? Ling Chu sighed secretly, forget it, there is no need to worry about the debt. Since I owe so much, I don't care about one more thing. At worst, she would be more diligent in the future, help him finish 100 cases as soon as possible, and help him resume his official duties. She strives to live longer and pay off her debts before she dies. Luo Erniang couldn't kill Ning Chui, but was beaten by him until she was unable to resist and became more and more manic. Although Bodhi whip can hurt her, It cannot kill her. The pain in his body was getting better. Ling Chu stood up from the ground and walked towards Chiu Mao. Seeing her looking at him, Chiu Mao felt a little uneasy and tried his best to smile. What are your orders, girl? Chiu Mao was paying attention to Luo Erniang just like everyone else, and didn't notice the Imperial Guard calling Princess Princess just now. He didn't know Ling Chu's identity, but seeing that she could deal with ghosts, his attitude was somewhat flattering. Ling Chu ignored his words and turned his head and shouted, Wei Feng. Wei Feng was watching Ning Chui deal with Luo Erniang attentively. When he heard her shouting, he immediately looked over. Tie him up. Chiu Mao's face changed. Why did you tie me up? What did I commit? Ling Chu was injured and didn't want to say a single unnecessary word. The girl in red rushed over quickly and glared at her angrily. You girl, you are just watching the ghost kill people and you don't stop, but you want to tie up brother Chiu. What's the point? Ling Chu glanced at her coldly and said to Wei Feng, too. She spoke with as much care as gold, and Wei Feng actually understood her. He quickly found 2 ropes and tied Chiu Mao and the girl in red together. Chiu Mao was panicked, the girl in red was angry, and the 2 of them struggled. Although the 2 Imperial Guards next to them didn't know why Ling Chu wanted to tie them up, it didn't stop them from helping Wei Feng tie them up. Chiu Chengtong saw that his wax shop was burned down, and his heart ached with pain. Now he saw that Ling Chu wanted to tie up his son, and he was angry again, and wanted to argue with her. Ling Chu was in no mood to pay attention to him. He glanced at a forbidden soldier next to him, who immediately put a long knife on Chiu Chengtong's neck. Chiu Dongjia shivered and finally closed his mouth. Ling Chu ignored him and asked Wei Feng and the Imperial Guards to Chiu Mao and the girl in red a few steps forward. Luo Erniang, I caught the enemy who killed you. Do you want to take revenge? Luo Erniang was about to attack Ning Chui when she heard Ling Chu's words and floated over. Chiu Mao and the girl in red were so frightened that they both retreated, but were kicked by Ling Chu alone. With a plop, he knelt down in front of Luo Erniang. The woman in red was shocked and angry, and wanted to scold Ling Chu angrily, but it was obvious that Luo Erniang was coming over with a ghostly look, so she couldn't care less about scolding. Seeing Chiu Mao's frightened expression, Luo Erniang couldn't help but feel ridicule on her face. Husband, you haven't always said you love me, why are you so scared when you see me? Chiu Mao's expression changed a few times, he swallowed, and then raised a smile that was uglier than crying. Mother, I'm just not used to it. You lied because you were obviously afraid. Chiu Mao looked embarrassed after being exposed in front of so many people. The woman in red immediately felt distressed and said, Sister Luo, humans and ghosts have different paths. You are a ghost now, and brother Chiu is a human. It is normal to be afraid of you. Luo Erniang was originally looking at Chiu Mao, but when she heard the woman in red's words, she suddenly turned around. Bitch, shut up, who is your sister? The woman in red was heartbroken and looked at her with a sad face. Sister Luo, I just told the truth. How can you curse? Niang, it's my fault. Our affairs have nothing to do with Hongying. If you have any dissatisfaction, just scold me. The woman in red looked at him gratefully. Seeing Chiu Mao defending the woman in red in front of everyone, Luo Erniang was so angry that she walked over and said, Bitch, you too, go to hell, go to hell. Luo Erniang stretched out her hand to strangle her neck. Unexpectedly, as soon as her hand touched the body of the woman in red, it was bounced away by a burst of red light from her body. When Hongying saw this, a proud smile appeared on her face. The smile on her face soon froze. Sensing someone approaching from behind, Hongying suddenly turned around. Before she could see clearly, Ling Chu quickly pulled out a red rope from her neck and waved the dagger in his hand. The red rope was disconnected, and Ling Chu stretched out his hand to pull it. A jade pendant fell into her palm. Hongying was furious. You Just as she spoke, she felt a sudden suffocation on her neck. Thanks to CMEA for the reward of 300 book coins. Thank you, life is bright. Hengja blowing Shang, 20230828180718746 and other book friends supported with monthly tickets. Thank you Guan Guan. DC, Xiaoqiu, 1402121840214228, Xiangbin, Guan Guan. DC, Goat Song, and the Story of the Eyes, This Moment, Laugh With You, Scar Red, Falling Leaves No Autumn. Add, Memory of the City, China Fuse, Shangsuan Yu, 201706161940233620, Chen, 1402121840214228, All Living Things, Eden of the East, Why Do We Grow Old, Life is Bright. V, 2023-051-2812. Ed, CHLWCH, 1311192132222849, Xiaomei, Free as the Wind 459, Daoyo. EB, Can't Think of Ming, Why Do You Grow Old, Official. DC, Colorful Life, Prose. BA, Ixixi, Ixixi and other book friends recommendation vote support. Thanks to Hengxiu and Xiaoxiang for supporting book friends. End of this chapter.